The night was cold and quiet in the mountains. Kang Do-hyun sat alone on his wooden porch, drinking warm tea and watching the stars. He liked the silence. He had lived in this small farmhouse for 3 years now, far away from the busy cities and far away from the memories that hurt him. Do-hyun was 28 years old. He had strong hands and tired eyes. Once, he had been a military medic. He had saved many lives on battlefields in distant countries, but he had also lost people, friends, brothers. The guilt never left him. So he came here, to the mountains of Gangwon province, to grow vegetables and live alone. He wanted to forget. He wanted peace, but peace was not coming tonight. A bright light appeared in the sky. At first, Do-hyun thought it was a shooting star, but it grew bigger and brighter. It moved too fast, too wild. Fire trailed behind it like a burning tail. The object screamed through the air and crashed into the forest, maybe 2 kilometers away. The ground shook. Birds flew from the trees in panic. Then, everything went silent again. Do-hyun put down his tea. His heart was beating fast. He knew he should stay inside. He knew it was not his problem. But something inside him, something old and stubborn, would not let him ignore it. He grabbed his flashlight and his old military jacket and walked into the dark forest. The walk took him 30 minutes. He followed the smell of smoke and burned trees. When he finally reached the crash site, he stopped and stared. It was not a plane. It was not a satellite. It was something he had never seen before. A small metal pod, shaped like a seed, lay in a crater of black earth. Strange symbols covered its surface. Soft blue lights blinked weakly on its side. Smoke rose from cracks in the metal. Do-hyun's hands trembled. He was a practical man. He did not believe in aliens or UFOs, but he could not deny what his eyes were seeing. He moved closer. The pod had a door, or something like a door. It was half open, bent from the crash. He pointed his flashlight inside and saw her. She looked like a young woman, maybe 20 years old. But she was not human. Her skin was pale, lavender, soft, like flower petals. Thin silver lines, like delicate tattoos, ran along her temples and down her neck. Her hair was long and white, spread around her like snow. She wore a torn dress made of material that shimmered like water, and she was hurt. Blood, purple and thick, stained her side. She was unconscious. Her breathing was weak and shallow. Do-hyun did not think. His training took over. He checked her pulse. It was there, but faint. He looked at her wound. Something had cut deep into her side, maybe metal from the crash. She needed help immediately. He carefully lifted her from the pod. She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless. He carried her in his arms and began the long walk back to his farmhouse. His legs burned. His back ached, but he did not stop. He had carried wounded soldiers through worse. He would not let this stranger die in his arms. When he reached his home, he placed her gently on his bed. He lit more lamps and gathered his medical supplies. He still kept a full kit from his military days. Old habits never died. For the next 3 hours, Do-hyun worked. He cleaned her wound, removed small pieces of metal, and stitched her skin. Her blood was purple, but it behaved like human blood. Her body was different, but not so different that he could not help her. He gave her water through a cloth, drop by drop. He wrapped her in warm blankets. By the time he finished, the sun was rising. Do-hyun sat in a chair beside the bed, exhausted. He watched the strange woman sleep. Her face was peaceful now, beautiful, in a way that was hard to describe. Not human beautiful, but something else. Something that made him feel small and amazed. Who was she? Where did she come from? Why did she crash on his mountain? He had no answers, only questions. She slept for 2 days. Do-hyun barely left her side. He changed her bandages, gave her water, and watched for signs of fever. He talked to her sometimes, even though she could not hear him. He told her about his farm, about the vegetables he grew, about the birds that sang in the morning. Talking helped him stay calm. On the third morning, she opened her eyes. Do-hyun was sitting by the window when he heard her move. He turned and saw her looking at him. Her eyes were large and golden, like coins made of sunlight. Fear filled them. She tried to sit up but gasped in pain and fell back. Do-hyun raised his hands slowly, showing he meant no harm. He spoke softly. "It is okay. You are safe. I will not hurt you." She did not understand his words. Of course she did not, but she seemed to understand his tone. Her breathing slowed. She watched him carefully, like a wounded animal watching a stranger. He pointed to himself. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she pointed to herself. "Yura," she whispered. Her voice was soft, like wind through leaves. Do-hyun nodded and smiled gently. "Hello, Yura." Tears filled her golden eyes. She looked at her bandaged wound, then back at him. She understood. This stranger had saved her. This human, on this primitive world, had pulled her from death. She spoke words he could not understand, but she pressed her hands together and bowed her head. The meaning was clear. She was thanking him. Do-hyun shook his head. "No need," he said. "Rest now. You are safe." Yura kept her head bowed for a long moment. When she finally looked up, tears ran down her lavender cheeks. She had been running for so long, fighting for so long, watching her protectors die for her, one by one. She had crashed on an unknown world, expecting death. Instead, she found kindness. She did not know this human. She did not know his world. But she knew one thing, with perfect certainty. Kang Do-hyun had saved her life, and she would never forget it. As sleep pulled her under again, she whispered one more time in her own language. A promise. A vow. She would find a way to repay him. Somehow. Someday. Outside, the sun rose over the mountains, painting the sky in gold and pink. A new day was beginning, and nothing would ever be the same again. The days passed slowly in the mountain farmhouse. Yura grew stronger with each sunrise. Her wound healed faster than Do-hyun expected. Whatever she was, her body was tougher than a human body. But she was still weak, still tired from her journey across the stars. Do-hyun took care of her without complaint. He brought her food and water. He changed her bandages. He helped her walk when she needed to move. He never asked for anything. He never demanded explanations. He simply helped, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. On the fifth day, Yura was strong enough to walk outside. Do-hyun helped her to the porch, and she sat in the morning sun, feeling the warm light on her lavender skin. She closed her golden eyes and breathed deeply. The air was clean here, filled with the smell of trees and earth, so different from the recycled air of starships. She watched Do-hyun work in his small garden. He pulled weeds, watered vegetables, and checked his crops with careful hands. He moved with quiet purpose, never rushing, never wasting energy. There was peace in him, she thought, but also sadness, a deep sadness that he carried like a stone in his chest. That afternoon, Yura returned to her crashed pod. Do-hyun walked with her, watching carefully in case she fell. The pod was destroyed beyond repair. But she found what she was looking for, a small device, shaped like a silver ring, hidden in a secret compartment. She placed it behind her ear, and it glowed softly. She turned to Do-hyun and spoke. This time, the words came out in his language, translated by the device. Her voice was still soft, but now he could understand. "Can you hear me now?" she asked. Do-hyun's eyes widened. He nodded slowly. "Yes, I can understand you." Yura smiled for the first time. It was a small smile. Tired, but real. This is a translator. It learns languages quickly. Your language is interesting. Many sounds. Do-hyun almost laughed. Korean is not easy, he agreed. But you speak it well now. Frund. Frund. Funhi. Frunhi. They walked back to the farmhouse together. That evening, sitting on the porch under the stars, Yura finally told him her story. She was the queen of the Volani, a civilization that lived among the stars. Her people were peaceful. They valued knowledge, art, and harmony. They had no army, only small defense forces. For thousands of years, they had lived in peace. But peace never lasted forever. The Kroth Dominion was an empire of conquest. They moved across the galaxy like a disease, taking what they wanted, destroying what they did not need. When they discovered the Volani, they demanded surrender. The Volani refused. And so, the war began. It was not a fair war. The Krath were brutal and powerful. The Volani were gentle and unprepared. Planet after planet fell. Millions died. The Volani were losing. Yura became queen at only 18 years old, after her mother died in a Krath attack. She was too young, too inexperienced. But her people needed a symbol. They needed hope, so she tried to be strong, even when she felt broken inside. 2 weeks ago, her ship was ambushed while traveling to a secret meeting. Krath assassins attacked without warning. Her guards fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. One by one, they fell, buying time for their queen to escape. Yura ran to the escape pod. The last thing she saw was her most loyal guard, a woman named Hana, holding the door against 5 Krath soldiers. Hana smiled at her and said, "Live, my queen. Live, and remember us." Then the door closed, and Yura launched into space. The pod's navigation was damaged. It jumped randomly through space, trying to escape pursuit. Finally, it crashed here, on this small blue planet, in the mountains of a country called Korea. Yura finished her story with tears in her eyes. She had lost everything. Her ship, her guards, her connection to her people. She did not even know if the Volani still survived. Do-hyun listened in silence. When she finished, he did not speak for a long time. He looked at the stars, his face unreadable. Finally, he said, "I am sorry for everything you lost." Yura shook her head. "You saved me, a stranger, an alien. You owe me nothing, but you gave me everything." She pressed her hands together and bowed. "Thank you, Kang Do-hyun. Thank you." Do-hyun shifted uncomfortably. He was not used to gratitude. "You do not need to thank me," he said. "You were hurt. I helped. That is all." "That is not all," Yura said firmly. "On my world, such kindness is rare. Among the stars, most species are selfish. They help only when they gain something. But you helped because it was right. That is special. That is precious." Do-hyun did not answer. He stared at his hands, rough and scarred from years of work and war. Yura watched him carefully. She saw the pain in his eyes. "You carry sadness," she said softly. "I see it in you." A weight. He flinched. No one had spoken to him like this in years. "It is nothing," he said. "It is not nothing." Yura's voice was gentle but firm. "I am a queen. I have learned to read people. You saved lives before, did you not? But you also lost lives, and you blame yourself." Do-hyun's jaw tightened. For a moment, anger flashed in his eyes, replaced by exhaustion. "I was a medic," he said quietly. "In the military. I saved many people. But one mission went wrong. My team was ambushed. I tried to save them, but I was not fast enough. I watched my friends die. I could not stop it." He paused, his voice breaking. I left the military after that. I came here to forget. But I cannot forget. Every night, I see their faces. Yura reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cool and soft. You carry their memory, she said. That is not weakness. That is love. Do-hyun looked at her, surprised. You could not save them, Yura continued. But you tried. You fought. And now, you saved me. Their deaths do not erase your goodness, Kang Do-hyun. You are still a healer. You are still a protector. Do-hyun said nothing. But something in his chest loosened, just a little. A knot he had carried for years. They sat in silence under the stars, two broken souls finding comfort in each other's presence. The queen and the farmer. The alien and the human. So different, yet somehow the same. That night, Yura slept peacefully for the first time since the attack. And Do-hyun, for the first time in 3 years, did not dream of fire and blood. He dreamed of nothing at all. And when he woke, he felt lighter. The morning sun rose over the mountains, golden and warm. Yura stepped outside and smiled at the sky. She was still lost. She was still hunted. But she was not alone anymore. And that made all the difference. A week passed in the mountain farmhouse. Yura grew stronger every day. She helped Do-hyun in the garden, learning to plant seeds and pull weeds. She found peace in the simple work, in the feeling of dirt between her fingers. It reminded her of home, of the gardens her mother once tended on their palace grounds. Do-hyun taught her about Earth. He showed her maps, explained the countries and oceans, told her about human history. Yura listened with great interest. Humans were strange, she thought, so young as a species, so violent, yet also capable of such beauty. Their music, their art, their stories, a species of contradiction. She also learned about Korean food. Do-hyun cooked simple meals, rice and vegetables and soup. Yura found the flavors strange at first, but soon she loved them. She especially liked kimchi, the spicy fermented vegetable. She ate so much that Do-hyun laughed and said she would empty his entire storage. It was the first time she heard him laugh. The sound made her heart warm, but the peace could not last forever. On the 8th night, Do-hyun woke suddenly. Something was wrong. He lay in the darkness, listening. The forest was too quiet. No insects, no night birds, only silence. He had felt this before, on battlefields. The silence before an attack. Moving quickly and quietly, he looked out his window. The sky was clear, full of stars. But there, in the distance, he saw lights. Small, moving lights, deep in the forest. They were not flashlights. They were too steady, too blue. His stomach turned cold. He woke Yura gently. Something is here, he whispered. In the forest. Yura's golden eyes went wide. Fear filled her face. The Krath, she breathed. They found me. They tracked my pod signal. Do-hyun's mind raced. How many? I do not know. A tracking team is usually 3 soldiers. But they could call for more. 3. Do-hyun had faced worse odds before. But those had been humans. These were alien soldiers, with weapons and armor he did not understand. He made his decision quickly. Stay here, he said. Hide in the cellar. I will handle this. Yura grabbed his arm. No, you cannot fight them alone. Krath soldiers are trained killers. They are stronger than humans, faster than humans. You will die. Maybe, Do-hyun said calmly. But you are a queen. Your people need you. I am just a farmer, with bad memories. If one of us has to die, it should be me. Yura's eyes filled with tears. Why? Why would you die for me? You do not know me. You do not know my people. Do-hyun looked at her for a long moment. "Because you asked for help," he said simply. "And I was there. That is enough." He pulled away from her grip and walked to his storage room. There, hidden under old blankets, were things from his past. A hunting knife, a small axe, wire and rope, bottles of chemicals, matches. He had kept them for emergencies, for the day when his past might catch up with him. Tonight, they would serve a different purpose. Do-hyun prepared quickly. He set traps around the farmhouse, wire across paths, holes covered with leaves, bottles of flammable liquid hidden in bushes. He was not a soldier anymore, but he still remembered how to fight, how to hurt, how to kill. Then he disappeared into the forest. The first Krath scout did not see him coming. The alien was tall, over 2 meters, with scaled gray skin and eyes that glowed red in the darkness. It wore black armor that covered its body like a shell. In its hands, it carried a weapon that hummed with energy. It moved through the trees confidently, following the signal from Yura's pod. It did not expect danger. This was a primitive world. The natives were weak, stupid creatures. Easy prey. That was its mistake. Do-hyun attacked from above, dropping from a tree branch. His knife found the gap between the alien's helmet and armor. Purple blood sprayed into the night. The Krath tried to scream, but Do-hyun's hand covered its mouth. They struggled in the darkness, rolling through leaves and dirt. The alien was strong, stronger than any human Do-hyun had fought. Its clawed hands tore at his jacket, cutting into his arm. But Do-hyun had something the Krath did not expect. Desperation. Fury. The stubbornness of a man with nothing left to lose. He twisted his knife and pushed deeper. The Krath shuddered and went still. Do-hyun lay on the ground, breathing hard. His arm was bleeding badly. His whole body ached. But he was alive. The alien was not. He dragged the body into a ravine and covered it with branches. Then he bandaged his arm with cloth torn from his shirt and continued into the forest. 2 more Krath remained. He found the second one, 30 minutes later, standing at the edge of the crash site. This one was more careful, scanning the trees with some kind of device. It sensed something wrong. Its partner had not reported back. Do-hyun did not attack directly this time. Instead, he used fire. The bottle of flammable liquid flew through the air and shattered against a tree. The match followed. Flames exploded in the darkness, turning the night into day. The Krath spun toward the fire, confused and blinded. Do-hyun charged from the opposite direction. His axe hit the alien's leg, cutting through armor and flesh. The Krath screamed and fell. Do-hyun did not stop. He swung again and again until the screaming stopped. 2 down, 1 remaining. But the third Krath was different. It was the leader, and it had heard the fight. When Do-hyun turned around, the commander was already there. It stood 5 meters away, weapon raised, red eyes burning with rage. It was bigger than the others, covered in scars from many battles. "Human," it growled. The translator device on Yura's ear had a limited range, but somehow, Do-hyun understood the hatred in that single word. The Krath fired its weapon. A bolt of blue energy screamed through the air. Do-hyun dove to the side, but the blast caught his shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. He hit the ground hard. Gasping, the commander walked toward him slowly, enjoying the moment. "You killed my soldiers," it said. "For that, I will make your death slow." Do-hyun could not move. His shoulder was burned. His body was broken. This was the end. But then he heard something, a sound from behind the Krath. Footsteps. Yura emerged from the shadows, holding the energy weapon from the first dead soldier. Her hands trembled. Her face was pale with fear, but her golden eyes burned with determination. "Leave him alone," she said. The commander turned, surprised. Then it laughed. "The little queen. You came out of hiding." "How convenient." Yura fired. The shot was not perfect. It hit the commander's arm instead of its chest, but it was enough. The alien roared in pain and stumbled backward. Do-hyun saw his chance. With the last of his strength, he grabbed his axe and threw it. The blade spun through the air and buried itself in the commander's neck. The Krath fell. It twitched once, twice, and then lay still. Silence returned to the forest. Yura ran to Do-hyun and dropped to her knees beside him. "You are hurt," she cried. Do-hyun looked up at her and managed a weak smile. "You should not have come," he whispered. "You should have stayed hidden." And tears streamed down her lavender face. "You saved me. I could not let you die. I could not." She helped him to his feet, supporting his weight with her small body. Together, slowly, painfully, they walked back to the farmhouse. Behind them, the fires died down, and darkness covered the bodies of 3 dead hunters. The first battle was over, but both of them knew it would not be the last. Morning came slowly to the mountain farmhouse. Pale light crept through the windows, touching the 2 figures inside. Yura sat beside the bed where Do-hyun lay, his shoulder wrapped in bandages, his face pale and tired. She had not slept all night. She had watched over him, checking his breathing, changing his bandages, praying to gods she was not sure still listened. The energy weapon had burned deep into his shoulder. On her world, such a wound would be healed in hours with advanced medical technology. But here, on this primitive planet, there was only cloth and medicine and hope. Do-hyun opened his eyes slowly. The first thing he saw was Yura's worried face looking down at him. Her golden eyes were red from crying. "You look terrible," he said weakly. Yura laughed through her tears. "You almost died, and you make jokes? If I cannot joke, I am really dying." He tried to sit up, but winced in pain. Yura gently pushed him back down. "Rest," she commanded. "You lost much blood." Do-hyun did not argue. He was too tired to argue. He lay back and stared at the ceiling. "The 3 soldiers," he said. "Are they all dead?" "Yes." "You killed them all." Yura's voice was quiet, filled with something like awe. 3 Krath elite soldiers, trained killers, and 1 human farmer defeated them. Do-hyun closed his eyes. "I was lucky. It was not luck." Yura shook her head firmly. "I watched you. I saw how you moved, how you fought. You were terrifying. Beautiful and terrifying, like a storm made of flesh." Do-hyun said nothing. He did not feel beautiful. He felt tired and old and broken. The day passed slowly. Yura brought him food and water. She cleaned his wound and applied fresh bandages. She read to him from books she found in his house, struggling with the Korean words, but trying her best. Her voice was soft and musical, and Do-hyun found himself relaxing as he listened. By evening, he was strong enough to sit up. Yura helped him to the porch, where they watched the sunset paint the mountains in red and gold. "More will come," Do-hyun said. It was not a question. Yura nodded sadly. The tracking team sent a signal before they died. "Reinforcements will arrive. Maybe in a few days. Maybe sooner." Ada. How many? I do not know. Could be 5. Could be 50. Her voice trembled. "You cannot fight them all. No one can." Do-hyun was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Tell me about them." "The Krath. Everything you know." Yura looked at him with surprise. "Why?" "Because I need to understand my enemy." His eyes were calm, focused. The eyes of a soldier, not a farmer. Their weapons, their armor, their weaknesses. "Tell me everything." So Yura told him. The Krath were reptilian beings from a harsh desert world. They were strong, fast, and brutal. They valued conquest above all else. Their society was built on war. To them, Peace was weakness. Mercy was foolishness. But they had weaknesses too. Their armor was strong, but it had gaps at the joints. Their eyes were sensitive to bright light. They relied heavily on their technology and struggled when it failed. And most importantly, they were arrogant. They looked down on other species as inferior. They underestimated their enemies. Do-hyun listened carefully, asking questions, making notes in his mind. When Yura finished, he nodded slowly. "We can use this," he said. "Their arrogance, their overconfidence. They do not expect resistance from a primitive world. They do not expect a human to fight back." Yura stared at him. "You still want to fight? After almost dying?" "I do not want to fight," Do-hyun admitted. "I hate fighting. I hate killing. I left the military to escape that life." He paused, looking at the mountains. "But sometimes, fighting is necessary. Sometimes, there is no other choice. You could run," Yura said softly. "Leave this place. Hide somewhere they cannot find you. I could surrender to them. They want me, not you. If I give myself up, no." Do-hyun's voice was firm. "I will not let you die." "Why?" Yura's eyes filled with tears again. "Why do you care so much? I am a stranger, an alien. My problems are not your problems." Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "On my world, there is a saying. When you save a life, that life becomes your responsibility. You are under my protection now, Yura. I do not care if you are human or alien or something else entirely. You are mine to protect. F for that. ATE. Yura's heart ached. She had met many people in her life. Nobles, warriors, politicians. But she had never met anyone like this human. Someone so stubborn, so selfless, so strange. "Your species confuses me," she whispered. "Humans are so violent. You have wars constantly. You hurt each other for power, for money, for ideas. And yet, you also do this. You risk everything for a stranger. Why?" Do-hyun thought about her question. "We are complicated," he said finally. "We have darkness in us. Greed, hatred, fear. But we also have light, love, sacrifice, hope. The two sides exist together, always fighting." He turned to look at her. "I have done terrible things, Yura. In war, I killed people. Some deserved it, some did not. I carry that guilt every day. But I also saved people. I held dying soldiers and told them lies to give them peace. I carried wounded children through fire. I gave my blood to strangers." His voice grew quiet. "That is what humans are. We are capable of great evil and great good. The choice is ours. Every day, we choose." Yura wiped her tears. "And you choose to protect me." "Yes. Even if it kills you." "Yes." She shook her head slowly. "Among the stars, there are many species. I have met hundreds, but I have never met a species like yours. You are young. Your technology is primitive, but your hearts are something else entirely." Do-hyun almost smiled. "Is that a compliment?" "I do not know." Yura laughed softly. "I honestly do not know." They sat in silence as the stars appeared one by one. The night was cold, but neither of them moved. There was comfort in the silence, in the shared presence. Finally, Yura spoke again. "Thank you," she said, "for everything. For saving me. For protecting me. For teaching me about your kind." Do-hyun sighed. "You thank me too much." "Because I mean it every time." She reached over and took his hand. Her lavender fingers intertwined with his rough, scarred ones. "Whatever happens, Kang Do-hyun, I will never forget you. Never. Do-hyun looked at their joined hands. He felt something stir in his chest. Something warm and unfamiliar. He had closed his heart for so long, built walls to keep everyone out. But somehow, this alien woman had found a crack in his armor. Get some sleep, he said gruffly, pulling his hand away. Tomorrow, we prepare. More enemies are coming. Yura smiled at his awkwardness. She stood and walked toward the door. But before she went inside, she turned back. Do-hyun. What? I am glad my ship crashed on your mountain. Of all the places in the universe, I am glad it was here. She disappeared inside before he could respond. Do-hyun sat alone on the porch, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, enemies were coming. Death was coming. And he was just one man, with an injured shoulder and old weapons. But he was not afraid. He had something worth fighting for. 3 days passed quickly. Do-hyun used every hour to prepare. Despite his injured shoulder, he worked without rest. He dug trenches around the farmhouse. He placed traps in the forest. He gathered weapons from the dead Krath soldiers and learned how to use them. Yura taught him which buttons to press, how to aim, how to reload. His shoulder screamed with pain, but he ignored it. There was no time for pain. There was only preparation. Yura helped as much as she could. She was not a warrior, but she was smart and quick. She studied the Krath equipment and found useful information. Their armor had a weakness at the back of the neck. Their weapons overheated after rapid fire. Their communication devices used a specific frequency that could be jammed. Together, they planned. Together, they prepared. On the third night, Do-hyun showed Yura the cellar beneath the farmhouse. It was small and dark, hidden beneath a heavy wooden door covered with old rugs. When the fighting starts, he said, you stay here. Do not come out. No matter what you hear. Yura shook her head. I cannot hide while you die for me. You can. You must. His voice was hard, but his eyes were gentle. Yura, you are a queen. Your people need you. If you die here, they lose hope. Everything your guards died for becomes meaningless. And what about you? She demanded. Your life has meaning too. Do-hyun shrugged. I am just a farmer. The world will not miss me. Yura wanted to argue. She wanted to scream at him, to make him understand that his life mattered, that he mattered. But she saw the determination in his eyes. He had made his choice. Nothing she said would change it. Instead, she stepped forward and hugged him. It was sudden, awkward, unexpected. Do-hyun froze, not knowing what to do. You are not just a farmer, she whispered against his chest. You are the bravest man I have ever known. Human or alien. You are special. Kang Do-hyun. Please do not forget that. Before he could respond, she pulled away and climbed down into the cellar. Her golden eyes looked up at him one last time. Come back to me, she said. Promise. Do-hyun hesitated. Then he nodded. I promise. He closed the door and covered it with rugs. Then, he walked outside to meet his fate. Dawn arrived with blood-red light. The Krath came with the sunrise. There were 8 of them. 8 elite soldiers, heavily armed and armored. They moved through the forest in formation. Weapons ready. They had received the distress signal from the first team. They knew something had killed their brothers. They were not taking chances. Do-hyun watched them from the trees. His heart pounded in his chest. 8 soldiers. Alien warriors with advanced technology. And he was one man with stolen weapons and homemade traps. The odds were impossible. Good, he thought. He had always done his best work against impossible odds. The first trap activated when the lead soldier stepped on a hidden wire. An explosion of fire erupted from the ground, engulfing 2 Krath in flames. They screamed and fell, rolling in the dirt, trying to put out the fire. The other soldiers scattered, taking cover behind trees. Their commander shouted orders, They had expected resistance, but not this. Not fire, and traps, and chaos. Do-hyun did not give them time to regroup. He fired his stolen Krath weapon from a hidden position. The first shot hit a soldier in the neck, the weak point Yura had described. The alien collapsed without a sound. The Krath returned fire. Energy blasts tore through the trees, turning wood to ash. Do-hyun ran, moving from position to position, never staying still. His military training returned like an old friend. Move. Never let the enemy predict your location. Another trap exploded. Another soldier fell. 4 down. 4 remaining. But the Krath were adapting. They spread out, flanking his position. Energy blasts came from multiple directions. Do-hyun felt a bolt burn past his face, missing by centimeters. Another hit a tree beside him, showering him with burning splinters. He was running out of traps, running out of time. One soldier found him. The alien was fast, faster than Do-hyun expected. It appeared from the smoke and swung a blade at his head. Do-hyun ducked, but the blade caught his arm, cutting deep. Blood sprayed. Pain exploded through his body. He dropped his weapon and grabbed the alien's arm, pulling it close. His knife found the gap in its armor. They fell together, struggling in the dirt. The Krath was stronger, but Do-hyun was desperate. He pushed the knife deeper, twisting, until the alien stopped moving. 5 down, 3 remaining. Do-hyun struggled to his feet. Blood ran down his arm, soaking his shirt. His vision was blurring. He had lost too much blood. His body was failing, but he could not stop. Not yet. He stumbled toward the farmhouse. 2 soldiers were already there, breaking down the door. They knew the queen was inside. They were going to find her. Do-hyun raised his weapon and fired. The shot hit one soldier in the back. The alien fell with a scream. The other spun around and saw him. The Krath commander. The biggest of them all. It wore golden marks on its armor, symbols of rank and honor. It looked at Do-hyun with cold hatred. "Human," it growled. "You killed my soldiers. You destroyed my team. For that, your death will be legend among my people." Do-hyun could barely stand. His weapon was empty. "Then come," he said through bloody teeth. "Come and kill me. If you can." The commander charged. It was fast, impossibly fast. Its blade swung down like thunder, but Do-hyun did not run. He stepped forward, into the attack. The blade cut his side, opening a deep wound, but his knife found its mark. It plunged into the commander's eye, driving deep into its skull. The Krath made a sound, something between a scream and a gurgle. It stumbled backward, clawing at its face. Then it fell and did not rise again. Do-hyun collapsed beside it. He lay on the ground, staring at the red morning sky. His body was broken. Blood pooled beneath him, soaking into the dirt. He could not feel his legs. He could barely feel anything, but he had done it. 8 soldiers, all dead. The queen was safe. He smiled and closed his eyes. The cellar door burst open. Yura ran out, screaming his name. She found him lying in the ruins, surrounded by bodies and blood. Her golden eyes went wide with horror. "No!" she cried. "No! No! No!" She fell to her knees beside him and pressed her hands against his wounds. Purple blood mixed with red. Tears streamed down her face. "You promised," she sobbed. "You promised to come back." Do-hyun opened his eyes. They were dim, fading. "I came back," he whispered. "I always keep my promises. Do not die. Please. You cannot die." She was begging now, her voice breaking. "I cannot lose you too. Please." His hand found hers. His grip was weak, barely there. "You will be okay," he said softly. "You are strong. Stronger than you know. I need you." The words came out like a prayer. "I need you, Do-hyun." He smiled at her. One last smile. His eyes closed. His hand went limp. Yura screamed. The sound echoed across the mountains, filled with grief and rage and loss. She held his body and rocked back and forth, crying until her voice broke. The sun rose higher, painting the world in gold. And somewhere in the burning farmhouse, a weak pulse continued to beat. Barely, faintly, but still there. Kang Do-hyun was not dead yet. She worked through the day and into the night, using every piece of medical knowledge she had learned from watching Do-hyun. She cleaned his wounds, stitched his torn flesh, and wrapped bandages around his broken body. The farmhouse had burned, but the medical supplies in the cellar had survived. She used them all. His pulse was weak. His breathing was shallow. Several times, she thought he was gone, but each time, his stubborn heart kept beating, as if he refused to surrender, even to death itself. Yura did not sleep. She did not eat. She sat beside him, holding his hand, whispering words of encouragement. She told him about her home world, about the silver forests and crystal lakes. She told him about her mother, the previous queen, who had taught her that kindness was strength. She told him about her dreams, her hopes, her fears. She talked until her voice was raw, because she believed that somewhere deep inside he could hear her. 3 days passed. On the 4th morning, Do-hyun opened his eyes. Yura was asleep beside him, exhausted beyond measure. Her lavender skin was pale, her silver markings dim. Dark circles shadowed her golden eyes. She had given everything to save him. He tried to speak, but only a croak came out. His throat was dry as desert sand. The small sound woke her instantly. Her eyes flew open, and when she saw him looking at her, she burst into tears. "You are awake," she cried, clutching his hand. "You are alive. I thought I lost you." Do-hyun managed a weak smile. "I promised," he whispered. "I keep my promises." She laughed through her tears and gently punched his uninjured shoulder. "You stupid, stubborn human. You almost died. Your heart stopped twice. Twice. Only twice?" He coughed. "I must be getting old." Yura wanted to scold him more, but she was too relieved. She helped him drink water, small sips at a time. She fed him soup, spoonful by spoonful. She cared for him, the way he had cared for her, with patience and tenderness. Days turned into weeks. Do-hyun healed slowly, painfully. His wounds were severe. The crath blades had cut deep, damaging muscle and bone. He would carry scars for the rest of his life, but he was alive. Against all odds, he was alive. As he recovered, Yura worked on her crashed pod. Most of it was destroyed, but the communication system still had power. She spent hours trying to repair it, connecting wires and adjusting circuits. The translator device helped, translating the technical manuals she found in the pod's memory. On the 20th day, she succeeded. The pod's beacon activated, sending a signal into space. A weak signal, barely strong enough to reach the nearest star system. But it was something. "Now we wait," Yura said, sitting beside Do-hyun on the porch. The farmhouse was mostly burned, but the porch had survived. They had cleaned it up and made it their home. "If any Villani ships are within range, they will hear the signal. They will come. And if no ships are within range," Yura looked at the sky, "then we stay here, together, on this mountain. Money, money. Money, money. Money, money." Do-hyun considered this. "That would not be so bad," he admitted. "I like this mountain." She smiled. "So do I." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset. The weeks of recovery had brought them closer. They understood each other now in ways that words could not express. The queen and the farmer, the alien and the human. Two broken souls who had healed each other. One evening, Yura asked him a question that had been on her mind. "What will you do?" she said. "After this is over. If my people come, if I have to leave, what will you do?" Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. "I will rebuild," he said finally. "My house, my garden, my life. It is what I do. It is what humans do. When things break, we rebuild them. You will be alone again." "Yes." He looked at her, his eyes soft. "But I was always alone. I am used to it." Yura shook her head. "You deserve better. You deserve happiness. A family. People who love you. Maybe," he shrugged, "or maybe I deserve to grow vegetables on a mountain and talk to myself. The universe does not care what we deserve." She fell silent, troubled by his acceptance. He had saved her life, risked everything for her, nearly died for her, and when it was over, he would return to his lonely farm as if nothing had happened. It seemed unfair. It seemed wrong. But before she could argue, a light appeared in the sky. It started as a single point, brighter than any star. Yura stood, her heart pounding. "They heard me," she breathed. "They actually heard me." The ship descended slowly, landing in the clearing where the Krath had died. It was beautiful, shaped like a flowing leaf, covered in silver patterns that shimmered in the fading light. The door opened, and Vallani soldiers emerged. They wore white armor and carried elegant weapons. Behind them came advisors in flowing robes, and servants carrying supplies. And at the front, leading them all, was a tall Vallani woman with silver hair and stern golden eyes. She saw Yura and stopped. "My queen," she said, bowing low. "We thought you were dead." Yura ran forward and embraced her. "Mireille," she cried. "You found me." Mireille was Yura's oldest advisor, the woman who had served her mother before her. She had been on a different ship when the ambush happened, separated from the queen. For weeks, she had searched the stars, following rumors and signals, hoping against hope. "The signal was weak," Mireille said. "We almost missed it, but we never stopped looking." Her eyes moved past Yura to the destroyed farmhouse, the burned forest, the graves of 8 Krath soldiers, and finally, to the human sitting on the porch, watching with calm eyes. "Who is that?" Mireille asked, suspicion in her voice. Yura turned and looked at Do-hyun. He had not moved from his seat. He had not tried to approach the Vallani, or show off, or explain himself. He simply sat there, humble and quiet, as if aliens landing in his yard was perfectly normal. "That," Yura said, "is the man who saved my life." She walked back to the porch and took Do-hyun's hand. He looked up at her, confused. "Come," she said. "I want them to meet you." "I do not need to meet anyone," he protested. "I am just a farmer. You are much more than that." She pulled him to his feet. "And it is time the universe knew it." She led him to the Vallani ship, where her people waited. They stared at him with curiosity and suspicion. A primitive human from an unknown world. What could he possibly offer? Yura would show them. She would show them everything. The Vallani gathered in a circle, their faces filled with doubt and confusion. Mireille stood beside them, arms crossed, eyes narrow. She had served the royal family for 50 years. She had seen many things, but a human saving the queen? That was difficult to believe. "Tell us," Mireille said. "Tell us what happened here." So Yura told them. She told them about the crash, about the wounded human who found her in the burning wreckage and carried her to safety, about the days of recovery, when he cared for her without asking for anything in return, about the nights they spent talking, learning about each other's worlds. She told them about the Krath tracking team, 3 elite soldiers sent to kill her, and how Do-hyun hunted them through the dark forest, killing them one by one with nothing but primitive weapons and human determination. She told them about the reinforcements, 8 more soldiers, heavily armed and armored, and how Do-hyun stood alone against them, outnumbered and outmatched, fighting like a demon from old legends. how he killed them all, suffering terrible wounds, nearly dying to protect her. When she finished, the Villani were silent. They looked at Do-hyun with new eyes. Mireille stepped forward. She approached the human slowly, studying him, his rough hands, his scarred face, the bandages still covering his healing wounds. "You fought 11 Krath soldiers," she said. "Alone, with no advanced weapons, no armor, no training in galactic warfare." Do-hyun met her gaze calmly. "I had training," he said. "Different training, but training." "Earth military?" "Yes." Mireille was quiet for a moment. Then she did something that surprised everyone. She bowed. A deep bow, the kind reserved for heroes and legends. "I have been a soldier for 50 years, she said. "I have fought in dozens of battles. But I have never heard of anything like this. One primitive human against 11 Krath, and you won." She straightened and looked at him with respect. "You have the heart of a warrior, human. The Villani owe you a debt we can never repay." Do-hyun shifted uncomfortably. "I did not do it for debt. I did not do it for reward. I did it because—" He paused, searching for words. "Because she needed help. That is all." "That is not all," Yura said softly. She stepped forward, standing between her people and the human. Her voice grew strong, carrying across the clearing. "This man taught me something. Something important. Something we have forgotten." She looked at her advisors, her soldiers, her servants. "We, Villani, think we are wise. We think we understand the universe. But we have grown comfortable, safe. We have forgotten what it means to fight, what it means to sacrifice." She gestured at Do-hyun. "This human comes from a primitive world, a violent world. His species has wars constantly. They kill each other over land, over ideas, over nothing at all. By our standards, they are barbaric." The Villani nodded, expecting criticism of the human, but Yura continued. "And yet, this barbaric human risked everything to save a stranger. He fought impossible odds. He nearly died. And when I asked him why, do you know what he said?" She paused, letting the silence build. He said, "Because you asked for help, and I was there. That is all. No calculations, no negotiations, no treaties or trade deals. Just simple, pure kindness." She turned to face Do-hyun. Her golden eyes shone with emotion. "Humans are capable of terrible things, but they are also capable of wonderful things. They have darkness in them. Yes, but they also have light. So much light." She faced her people again. "The Krath think they can conquer the galaxy through strength. But true strength is not about weapons or armies. True strength is about heart. And humans have more heart than any species I have ever met." Mireille and the others listened in silence. Something was changing in their eyes. Doubt was becoming understanding. Suspicion was becoming wonder. Yura raised her voice. "I hereby declare Earth under Villani protection. No empire will touch this world. No army will invade it. Any who try will face the full power of the Villani fleet." She paused, letting her words sink in. Then she continued, "And I extend a formal invitation to humanity. When they reach the stars, when they join the galactic community, they will find friends waiting. They will find allies. They will find us." The Villani bowed their heads in acceptance. The Queen had spoken. Her word was law. Yura turned to Do-hyun. He stood apart from the others, looking awkward and uncomfortable. He did not belong in this world of queens and starships. He was just a farmer, a broken soldier, a man with too many scars. But to her, he was everything. She walked to him and took his hands. "Come with me," she said. "Come to the stars. You could have a new life, a better life. You would never be alone again." Do-hyun looked at her for a long moment. His eyes were soft, filled with an emotion he rarely showed. Gratitude. Affection. Maybe even love. "I cannot," he said gently. "This is my home. These mountains. This land. I belong here. But you will be alone. I have been alone for years." He smiled sadly. "I am used to it." Tears filled Yura's eyes. "I do not want to leave you. But you must." He touched her face softly, wiping away a tear. "Your people need you, Yura. You are their hope, their symbol. You cannot abandon them for one broken human." She wanted to argue. She wanted to scream that it was not fair. But deep down, she knew he was right. Duty came first. It always came first. She threw her arms around him and held him tight. He held her back, his arms strong despite his injuries. "I will never forget you," she whispered. "Never, and I will never forget you." He pulled back and looked at her. "Now go. Go and be the queen your people deserve." She kissed his cheek, a gentle press of lavender lips against rough human skin. Then she stepped back, tears streaming down her face. "Goodbye, Kang Do-hyun. Goodbye, Queen Yura." She walked to the ship. At the door, she turned and looked at him one last time. He raised his hand in farewell. Then the door closed, and the ship rose into the sky. Do-hyun watched until it disappeared among the stars. He stood there for a long time, alone in the darkness, feeling the weight of silence settle around him. Then he turned and looked at the ruins of his farmhouse. The burned wood, the collapsed roof, the destruction. He sighed and picked up a piece of timber. There was rebuilding to do. Years passed. Do-hyun rebuilt his farmhouse, stronger than before. He tended his garden. He grew old in his mountains, peaceful and content. And one day, humanity made first contact with the galaxy. They were nervous, expecting hostility from alien empires. The Villani spoke of a human legend, a protector, a guardian, a farmer who fought like a god against impossible odds. And in his rebuilt farmhouse, an aging man received a message from across the stars. It came through a small device left behind by a young queen, glowing softly in the night. The message was simple. Just 2 words, in a language he had learned long ago. "Thank you." He smiled, folded the message carefully, and placed it in a wooden box beside his bed. Then, he walked outside, looked up at the stars, and whispered into the night, "You are welcome. Always." The stars twinkled back at him, like a million golden eyes watching from the darkness. And somewhere across the galaxy, a queen looked at the same stars and smiled. They would never meet again. But they would never forget each other. Some bonds transcend distance. Some connections last forever. The farmer and the queen. The human and the alien. 2 souls, separated by light years, united by gratitude. That is the power of kindness. That is the strength of humanity. That is the story of Kang Do-hyun, the guardian of a queen. The end.